Welcome back to the dungeon. My name's Drew. I run a small business out of Southwest Columbus, Ohio. And today we're just going to go over my guitars, which I've never really done in the 5 years of being on YouTube. Appreciate all the new subscribers. And we'll go over how much I paid for them and or how I acquired them. And then also we'll go over my effects. And we'll also go over my amps. So let's see. This is a 2007. Mess with these effects. Yeah. So this is a 2007 Powerhouse Stratocaster. If anyone can tell me what they changed these saddles to, because they're not the vintage style ones, I think I found out where they're from, but I could be wrong about it. This is caramel metallic, pretty rare color. You can't see it in the shot, but I have another Powerhouse Stratocaster. This one is a 1998 and the frets are a little worn. They could use a crowning. I replaced all of these. Oh, before I get to the caramel metallic, I paid for $500. The guy was asking $600 on Facebook Marketplace. Don't buy a ton of guitars on there, and I had to drive quite a ways to get it. Anyway, so this 1998, this would have came with all chrome hardware. I changed that out for roughly about $100, and luckily where I was working at the time had the tool to press these in or also take them out. And so I did that there. It's got 5 springs. It's got your typical older style 9-volt compartment. But yeah, that's the only thing I changed out on here. And then all the screws are gold as well. And I honestly don't remember what I paid for this. I had one stolen from me when I was a kid. So I wanted to replace it as an adult. It may have been $300, $350 at the time. Again, I took off the chrome hardware, added the other one for roughly about $100, maybe it was $120. I sold the old hardware, which I should have kept it, but I got roughly about $100 for it. So, let's go on to this one. This is a Epiphone ES135BB, and I think BB stands for the color. You guys know more about this than I do. Replaced just the knob up here. This one was given to me by a friend, and that's because he had an identical one to it, and if I fixed the other one, he would give me this. So it's a pretty cool guitar, nothing crazy, but it did have a broken headstock. Let's see if I can't. It was pretty gnarly. If you can see that in the shot, I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, all I used was glue. I could have done a heck of a lot better of a job. First one I've ever done. And then I got this little gig bag for it for $5 from a pawn shop. And here we are with your nice Gibson plush case. This is the case for the Fender Black Powerhouse. This is a 1986 or 1988 Zola. And it was, I believe, 2 brothers or cousins. I can't remember where exactly in California. These are a little bit more common than you think. The great thing about this guitar is it was extremely dirty. You see how it was like here? I used a eraser, one of those, I can't remember what the heck you call them. Anyway, this coin belonged to my grandmother. It's a Liberty, whatever. That's the significance of it there. This is a 70s strap bridge. So that is very cool. That alone, well worth more than $100. This is a 7/8 guitar, which is this is the second 7/8 guitar I've owned. Zola, I believe they took away one of the L's or they added an L. I can't remember. They're out there. Ebony fingerboard. If you can see it, it's pretty flamed. I like this guitar because it's really beat up. I love the red anodized plate on the back, and you can see. And then these are these were wound by MJ at the Seymour Duncan plant back in the 80s. This is a Trembucker. I can't remember what this is, but it is a rail that goes across there. Also Seymour Duncan, also wound by MJ. These are some Graph Tech string trees. And then the cool thing about this guitar, other than the ebony fingerboard, which is kind of strange how they did it right there. The cool thing about it, the Marzio tuners. These tuners sell sometimes for about $300, $350, and that's when I used to look them up. I don't even look them up anymore. This guitar is a screamer. Levy strap, got it free. Did I tell you? Paid $120 for it, and it was such a good deal at a pawn shop, and I knew the guy somewhat. He's a bigger guy, and so I went and I bought him lunch from Penn Station because it was such a great deal. Okay, next one. And if you can see the case, you already know what this is. This was also purchased at a pawn shop, and I worked at 2 different pawn shops, one for 9 years and one for about a year. So if that tells you anything, this is a Joe Bonamassa Epiphone with the paperwork inside the pink case. It's in there somewhere. And this is bone stock, and I believe I bought this for $275. It may have been $300, but I don't think it was. Either way, these go for roughly about, in this condition, $999, and then, you know, probably about $900. But this is in damn near mint condition, not a scratch on it. I do kind of need to polish some of this stuff up before any tarnishing happens. And then this was purchased through Sweetwater. Basically, when this is a Epiphone Flying V Prophecy with the Fishman pickups in there. These guitars are great. This thing's in mint condition. Again, purchased brand new from Sweetwater. Yeah, it is what it is. I'm a dirty guitar player, a dirty blues guitar player, I should say that. But this still does it, you know. So yeah. Okay, this is just over the effects. And I've had many pedal boards throughout the years, and we'll go over at the end of what the things I shouldn't have sold. Big Mini, bought it new. They're super cheap. This is a Real McCoy picture wah. There you go. From 2000. I think it's at RMC3. I could be wrong. It's got the push pull dip switch. You know what I'm talking about. And then, of course, a Bonsai. I think I bought this used, but you know how expensive they are used. And then this, I think I paid like 35 bucks for from a pawn shop. Big old ding in the middle, but who cares? Voodoo Lab Microvibe. I can never remember the Iron City. I can't remember. Tape machine. They used to use these at Andertons a lot when they used to do the, you know, building on a budget and all that crap. And then a Boss RV6. I've had the RV5. I think I had other ones too. And then this one that's not hooked up is the Electro Harmonics 72 stereo looper. The reason why I like this is CD quality loops. Okay, real quick. Now, I do use this for vocals. I've been wanting to get the newer, the Boss VC20, whatever. Okay. And then this is a Fender Excelsior. You can see here, I have my, oh, crap, you know what they're called. They're from beer. The top's on Grolsch beer. But this one is bone stock, except for, has JJ 6v6s and JJ 12AX7s. And now this guy here, the Fender Champion 600, I've owned, for sure I've owned 2 of these. I should have bought them when they were cheaper. I should have bought more. I did pay like $250 for this. I changed out the speaker to an Eminence, and I believe it's an 8-inch still. Anyway, this has the factory 6v6 in it, and then it has a JJ 12AX7 in it. The one I owned previously, I read articles where if you would have got this amp back in the 50s, I'm sorry, if you would have got this, or if you would even just buy a new one, the guy said, and he worked for Fender back in the 50s, and he said to get a 12 AT7, and it was a green label tongue sole, and you can really crank it without it breaking up early. And then the other one that I did previously own, I should have never sold it. I had a 50s, I think it was a white label tongue sole 6v6. So yeah, and changing those tubes. Now the problem is nowadays it's very difficult to get these tubes. Here is another amp that I owned when I was a kid. It is a Crate VC20, Vintage Club 20. These are excellent amps, built-in reverb. This one, I do believe I changed out the 12AX7s, but I can't remember. These are EL84 amps, and the previous owner did change the EL84s. I just can't remember what they changed them to. And I paid a little over $100 for this. Yeah, it was a good deal. And that was I can't remember if that was before shipping or after shipping. Anyway, that's why I couldn't sell it. This is, there's my last name. This is a 1969, 1970 Fender Princeton non-reverb. This is, I used to know all the model numbers off the top of my freaking head. What is it? AA764? I can't remember. This one has been completely gone through. It had I had them add a 3-prong to it because it didn't have a 3-prong. This was all original. And then I replaced this baffle with this one. And then also, they were selling at the time smoke-stained ones. And I told them I wanted a brand new looking one. And then this is a custom plate because I had to get a template. They had to make a template for it because at the time they weren't making these for non-reverbs. And I can't remember what brand it is, but I'm sure the brand is still out there. I used to keep up with all this stuff. Obviously, that's what I was in business. I was a guitar expert where I worked, so yeah. I'll just go over a few of the amps and guitars that got away, because I could go on and on about the pedals that got away or the ones that I sold that I shouldn't have sold. The first guitar that comes to mind was a 59, it could have been 61, old Craftsman with a K, Barney Kessel. So it would be the standard, like what you would see now, but it would have the 3 pickups in it. And then someone had added a Bigsby at some point. I paid $120 for it, something like that. $110 before tax. And then I sold it for $600. I should have never sold it. But this is also well over 10 years ago. So, and I almost instantly regretted it when I sold it. That guitar screamed. I mean, probably because it was a full hollow body. But that, you know, you got the, you know, the kickstand on it, and yeah. So there's one guitar. Trying to think. I've had many, and a lot of people don't really consider them great guitars, but I do. Fender Made in Mexico Strats. I've had them brand new, where I did, and I also worked at a guitar shop at the time. And I should have kept every single one of them, and I'd buy more of them throughout the years, and then eventually I would end up selling them. And there's probably about 3 of them that I shouldn't have sold. You know, I've owned a lot of different guitars, you know, like a 72 Les Paul Custom. I owned that for about a week. You know, I had a guitar business for about 6 months that I would just buy and sell instruments, but I couldn't get instruments as fast as I can sell them. Another, a bass, I don't play bass, but I would have liked to have, I had a Fender Cowpoke bass. I had the red one. They call it, I think, a red burst, but it's really just red, but it goes into a burst. I should have, I wish I would have got one of the, I don't know the actual color, but it would have been like a cream. Or more or less it would look like it was yellow. But that was my whole goal, was to have that, and then maybe a matching guitar that matched that guitar, you know, kind of like a ZZ Top, if we'd ever go on stage or something like that. So that's a couple of the guitars. I had some amps over the years, but not very many of them got away. I also sold stuff, so I seen stuff that I probably should have grabbed and I never did. There's a Music Man. I think it was a 40 watt. It might have been a 65 watt. I can't remember. It was 40 watts. Music Man amp. Great amp. We had it going through at the shop and had it fixed up, and then we ended up selling it. I came across a broken one in a pawn shop, and I couldn't get the person to give me a deal on it, and I should have just bought it, and I think it was like $60, you know, and I could have just sent it to my tech and had him repair it, whatever it needed, because it didn't work. Should have bought that. I had a Red Bear. I had tons of amps. Red Bear was a really cool amp. But no amp really ever... Ooh, the one amp that did really get away from me was at the shop, and I should have bought it, and I was trying to buy it super cheap, and it's a Music Master bass amp. And it's not the one... It's the one with the 6V6s. It's not the one with the 6Q whatever in there. I wouldn't want that thing. Even now, I wouldn't buy one with, you know, someone else's money. I would want the 6V6 version. And of course, all these amps and stuff got popularized, you know, because certain people started playing them, and they weren't very expensive to get. And then like Dan Auerbach, after he started playing that Music Master bass amp, you know, the price of them went through the roof. And here's another thing too. If you see my pedal board, I used to own, at the time, I think 3 or 4 Ibanez metal screamers. And at one point, I had one that was brand new in the packaging. And if you know, they're from 1985. They only made them 1 year. It's essentially a tube screamer, but it has 2 gain stages. Anyway, I had 2 of those. I sold off the other ones. I had 2 that I found that I liked, because each one, you know, each piece of gear is different. But yeah, it's a long story with those, but I used to buy them for $40 to $60 all day long. And if you are big on guitar pedals and you keep up with the current prices, you know that those things are selling through the freaking roof. Hence, that's why I have the Bonsai, because I can't get a metal screamer because I won't spend that much for one. I can put the TS10 setting on here, or the MSL setting on there, I'm sorry. And that was the metal screamer. And it's reliable and blah, blah, blah. And I don't have to worry about stomping on it and breaking it. I mean, other than that, there is one amp that I should have owned. And technically, I did own it for about an hour. And I worked at a pawn shop for 9 years. They were going out of business, unbeknownst to almost every employee there, because they had been around since like 1950. And if you go back in some of my catalog, like 5 years ago, I was doing a podcast and I go over a lot of different things that went on at that pawn shop. Anyhow, I paid $200, and it was like a 1965 or 1966 Fender Bandmaster 100 watts. Yeah, I wish it would have been a 50 watt, but it didn't really matter because I didn't end up owning it. It was at the pawn shop. A guy came in. His father had passed away. He had a Gibson guitar across the street at another pawn shop, and I was trying to do the right thing. He asked for $100, and I said, "How about $200?" So he said, "Okay." He knew I was getting a good deal because he asked me, and I told him that is a good deal, but I'm gonna have to send it to my tech, have it gone through, have a 3-prong put on it. But the cool thing about this amp is that his father, the original owner, had bought it, and then so when the not the salt and pepper, but when the 70s, you know, kind of the bluish silver, you know, grills came out, he took off the grill cloth because they only have held in by like Velcro, and he stapled on a new grill cloth over top of the old one. So I was just about to take off that grill cloth. I went to lunch. I came back from lunch, and they had hid the amp, gave me my $200 back, and they shit canned me. Yeah, that's right. They fired me. But that's okay because I'm in a lot better place now. And I did learn a lot from that job. A lot. I learned more from that job than any college or any other job could really teach me, especially about being a salesman. And the type of business I'm in now, I'm more or less a contractor, and I'm basically selling myself. So it all goes back to kind of there. Worked at another pawn shop for about a year. That also did payday lending. If anybody knows about that, the pawn shops got rid of payday lending in Ohio because it was a conflict of interest. You know, you pay the lobbyist, they get you to put some bills through, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But so that place is still there. But yeah. And a few years after that, I started my own business, and now I'm already into my 4th year. So I do appreciate everybody that watches. I appreciate all the new subscribers. We're gonna have some more content like this. It's just, if I can get some more time off, and you know, but you know, working is what pays the bills, and that's what puts food on the table, and that's what I can buy Christmas presents with, and blah, 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 blah. But ideally, I would like to buy some more stuff. It's just a matter of finding it. And eventually, like even some of the Joe Bonamassa one, and even this Fender, even though the frets are like perfect on it, I wouldn't mind actually selling them. But it'd also be to get something else. I think I did mention I should have bought the Epiphone Amos Flying V when it came out. I think you could have them for about $1,000. I think on the low side they're $1,600 now, as high as $2,000, which is crazy. But you know, but yeah, I mean, and literally I was thinking about this too. There's a few copies of Les Paul, like a Les Paul Custom that I want, and then there's also, I can't remember the model number, HW 760 or 670, I can't remember. It's a Hohner. It's a copy of a D45. It's a great guitar. I know where one's at. I'm trying to find it, trying to locate it. But yeah, there's a few guitars on my wish list, and that's about it. But again, appreciate you guys spending some time with me.